Hey guys, Shisha here. I want to talk about something very specific on today's topic, and it's gonna be about the stage selection. Um, I know that it's not something that most people thought about. In my case, I'll explain what was my thought process about all this. But basically, the stages in the game, right? They are really sick, obviously, in every way possible. We got like so much variety. If you guys are wondering which what we're looking at right now and which website is this is Resource of Souls website. I'll leave the link in the description if you guys want to check it out. But it's a really cool like fan wiki for Rebirth of Souls. So here they got the stage selection going, and there's something interesting about all of these stages is that I think they seem to have different stage sizes. The question goes to not just the stage sizes, but even like certain little quirks, the rails over on like Karakura Town and Evening Stage, and even the Ichigo Soul Rainless Stage that I'll talk about in a second. But they have different properties, it seems like. In the case of Karakura Town, they have these like rails on the side over here. In Ichigo Soul Rainless Stage, you don't even, from the footage that we've seen with Morita, I don't even think you actually like float in this stage at all, like from the footage that we've seen. So my question to you guys is, does stage selection matter for competitive play? Stages can make somewhat of a difference, but it obviously depends on the game, right? You have all this stuff over here, like this is a more large scale map, but in the case of like railings, right? Railings could actually affect matches themselves. I can totally see it, and I think I even saw footage of it was one of the footage, you guys can let me know, but it was like one of the footages from like a couple of months ago that we saw with Toshiro versus Gin. I think they were on this like railing, and I think it affected their altitude somewhat, and I wonder if that will actually affect matches, because altitude can actually make a difference. I know there's Rukia, she has an attack, for example, that she goes downwards or like upwards, one of those two things, or she can maybe choose. It's one of her special moves, if I'm not mistaken, where she goes down and to dodge an attack and then does one of the keto spells. It's very interesting that a specific attack like that actually dodge it basically altitude wise, because it's not something that we really see too often. So maybe that's how it works, but we don't know for sure if it will or not, but it's just something to consider. You look at this like Las Noches hallway stage, right? You have these pillars over here, and we know that they're destructible, so there's no problem. You look at these walls though, they're like a rectangular size stage rather than a square size stage, like I'm assuming like Las Noches interior, or most of the other stages that are more square based. This seems more rectangular based stage size. If you guys don't really know what I'm talking about, I'll give an example of what I mean. So for example, in Smash Ultimate, right, you have stages. You have so many stages over here that, as you can see, right, they all make a huge difference in matches. Basically, playing on Battlefield, or you play on small Battlefield or Final Destination that has no platform, can affect matchup to matchup, honestly. I know like heavies, for example, they love smaller stages because it gives the other opponent who's playing a different character that's not a heavyweight less room. It gives them less rooms to basically dodge and move around. The same thing goes for dodging projectiles. Final Destination sort of blocks that completely. You see what I mean? There's very specific matchups where it can make a whole difference. That's what I mean by how stages can affect matches, right? However, I think maybe because Smash is such a huge exception, right, to this, because if you go to Tekken, for example, Tekken actually has the same sort of idea when it comes to stages in some ways, where stages are not exactly the same. Arena Underground, look at the size of it, right? 24, it has wall bound, and then you go to, for example, Urban Square Evening, and the size is 24, but clearly here it's a square size stage, and I guess there's no wall bound at all, so that's kind of a big difference in terms of like picking one stage to the other, right? So you look at this stuff, and it is basically the point of here is Tekken is, in terms of stage selection, is just as different as stages in Smash, yet their rule set for competitive their stage selection is just random. That begs the question, and I looked up this Reddit thread. Why does competitive Tekken default to choosing random stages? And over here, it tells you like a pretty much an interesting question. This guy came from a platform fighter. He saw the Tekken rule set. He saw that in a game like this where stages can make a difference to some extent, why is there no stage bans? Basically, there's not enough of a character and stage combination that are strong enough compared to other characters where it makes that much of a difference. Literally, a whole match can be decided like in Smash, depending on which stage you choose. That will be the huge changing factor of how a match can go. But in Tekken, it's not really like that. Maybe it affects by like a very little bit, but it doesn't affect enough to the point where they start putting stage bans into the game, right? So that's the interesting thing about stage selection. Even though stages are different, it doesn't necessarily mean that they should implement stage selection or stage bans and doing all this format. Coming back to Rebirth of Souls, right? Now, I think it's following basically the Tekken formula in that way, where, you know, you have these stage sizes that are different, assuming. Is this something to consider? Is this something that is very important and that can change the outcome of a match? We don't really know for sure, but one thing that is very interesting is this, though. Ichigo's Rainless stage. Now, if we go to the footage of them fighting over here, what's interesting about this is they never actually float on the stage. So that's kind of strange. Look at that. The gravity just hits Ichigo really hard. So there's no floating mechanic on this stage at all. Like I said, Rukia has like altitude based dodges. Maybe in a stage like this, she won't go up or down. She might go just left or right. And it could be just simply something like that, right? The corners in this game are not like some sort of like egregious like Tekken thing where characters have to all of a sudden, getting juggled and then they're stuck in this combo forever. And then being in the corner, I don't think it holds that much of a disadvantage, you could say. I think stages like this, right? Or that are very small, or yeah, I think like heavyweight characters or characters that are like a lot slower could basically be in a better advantage in this situation. But you never really know how this could go, right? Because we know very little about the game and whatnot. And I think the way the mechanics are implemented and the way the style of game this is, I think this will fall more into something like Tekken than something like Smash. I don't think stages will affect too much of the way the outcome of a match can be. Still, it's just to bring up the conversation, right? When this game will come out, we won't really know what we're doing, but we're gonna see some potential stuff, maybe like stage wise, how it can affect an interaction or match. I don't think the game mechanics themselves are sort of gonna be in the way for stages, or stages will not be too drastically different. But it's still an interesting conversation, I would say. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed and have a good one. See ya.